Welcome everybody to our Facebook Live group interview tonight. We started these interviews a couple of weeks back as we went into this coronavirus situation, when we wanted to really take an opportunity to build some community with our event professionals, as well as try to use our time as wisely as we can to focus on our businesses, hear from experts, and learn from each other. So tonight, we're thrilled to offer you a continuation of that and our next series in our interview. So please welcome Rachel Carrillo from LA Mama.
Hey.
And Brandie Carlos from multiple businesses. So I'm going to have to read over them. So tonight's topic is all about photography and branding tips. And you'll hear why we chose these wonderful ladies to partner with us on this topic in a minute. But actually, I'll let you guys share more about the businesses that you have and a little bit more about you. So let's start with Rachel.
Okay. Hey, guys. Rachel here at LA Mama. I'm a photographer, and I photograph everything from social media content, headshots, to weddings, families. Right now I'm doing the porch portraits, which are really fun. Yeah, so that's what I do. I'm a mom of two, and I'm also a full-time student. So just kind of navigating life through that. And of course, right now business has been affected by what's going on in the world. So yeah, so I'm just navigating that with everyone else, and I'm hoping to share some really awesome tips so everyone could take some great photos with either your camera or your phone.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And Brandie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brandie Carlos. I'm born and raised in East LA. I always say that because I'm very proud of representing my community. And I'm the founder of Therapy for Latinx. I'm also the owner of Confianza Tax Services, Camerashy Photobooths, and Formation Digital Agency.
That's amazing. Can we all just pause and I don't even know what day it is and you're running multiple businesses. So that's really awesome.
Again, like Patty said, we're so happy to have you join us and those that are joining us live. We've all been kind of impacted by COVID-19. And for a lot of us, it is a challenge. Our businesses are impacted. We're home with kids. Some of us are learning, I raise my hand, I'm learning to be mommy teacher. And it's a challenging time, but through all times of challenge, we can be resilient. So we would like for you to share a story with us, a little bit to get to know you, and then a little bit about resiliency is just what's a challenging time that you've been through and how you've overcome it.
I'll go first. Okay. So I think a challenging time for me was actually kind of the creation of my business. I was a single mom to one. I became pregnant again, single mom, and the feelings of that and depression and postpartum, it was a crazy time for me, but I needed to make money, and I picked up my camera and I haven't put it down since. So I think one thing from that I reflect on now is literally I didn't have an option to second guess myself or to say no to certain opportunities that came up. So just saying yes to everything and anything, I see how that has truly impacted my life and my business for sure.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, just to find, and a lot of times we go through challenges and we find, it forces us to be on the journey that we're supposed to. I mean, we've worked with you. We know you're amazing. And so we wanted to thank you for sharing your talent with the rest of us. Brandie, were you okay with sharing something with us as well?
Yeah, definitely. So a few years ago, I actually owned another tax office and I had a business partner. We had 8 offices in SoCal and we had over 60 employees. And at one point I found out that money was missing and there was issues involving alcohol and things like that. And I ended up losing that business overnight. I lost everything. To the point where I was sleeping on my grandma's couch again and really had to build myself back up again from that point. And so it's been really interesting going through COVID right now, because I've been able to pull a lot of just lived experience from that time, where I'm like, okay, how did I handle that situation? And how did I show up in a way to get to where I am today? And how could I implement that in everything that's going on?
Yeah, that's so amazing. I mean, a lot of times, we may go through one challenge or one struggle and we just feel like it is the greatest, struggle that we could, we can never overcome it. And when we hear stories like yours, it lets us know that whatever we're going through, like if we just forge past it and through it, we can come out stronger on the other side. And so you are super rock star.
Thank you.
As a mom, I'm a mom, we're all launching businesses, and part of your brand and your business is who you are, the product that you offer, but also a lot of it is really kind of like the photography and how you present yourself. So wanted to hear from one or both of you, just really how important do you feel it is to build your brand and then also build that brand with great photography as we transition to our photography conversation?
Yeah, no, I mean, photos are huge, right? We're gonna, whatever catches our eye, we're gonna stop and we're gonna either click, we're gonna scroll past by it, or we're even gonna comment on it. So imagery is huge. For a small business, you don't need to have the most professional photos ever. You just need to have photos. Like you need to start you need to start somewhere, right? So I think that's huge. I think sometimes people can get caught up in maybe like the overwhelming like feeling of, but it's not right, it doesn't look right, it's not a professional. But I think as long as we just do it, that's the start. One thing is like you really want to know what look are you trying to go for? What aesthetics, right? Instagram, we see different pages, the looks, the colors, the feel of the photos. So I think for a brand, you really kind of first thing you really kind of want to get a grasp on what type of pictures do you want to have on your Instagram. Like what's catching your eye, and then kind of just go off that.
I would say same thing that Rachel just said. I love creating boards on Pinterest for like different projects, to save images that I really like, and even trying to recreate some of them and figure out like if there's an influencer that you love their photos, like try to find the same outfit and the same or a similar background and see if you can recreate it. I think that's a really good starting point. And also don't be scared to hire a professional. Like I know for me, clients that I manage, I always send them to Rachel. And in one session, she'll end up shooting so many photos that I can repurpose them multiple times. Like I can use it for their Instagram and for their social media. So you don't have to hire a photographer, obviously on a daily, right? You don't have to have someone following you, but you can mix it up between professional photos and some that you're able to take at home. And not being scared to also, take pictures at home. Buying a lighting kit on Amazon isn't a huge investment. It's something you can do under $100, and it makes the world of a difference. If you've ever done your makeup in front of a mirror with lighting and without, you can see it's like two people getting ready.
Well, that's my dream, is to have all the theater light bulbs around it. So yeah, you're giving me hope. Even
this laptop right here is like strategically placed. So I get a little bit of natural lighting. Otherwise, it's far worse.
I'm in like the best spot of my house right now. And that's the thing that I wanted to talk about is lighting. I love to work with natural lighting. I do have a couple of flashes, but I just love natural light. I love the look of it. And I'm just very familiar with already editing with it. But if you're taking photos at home, you definitely want to go near a window. Where do you get the most natural light? One tip that I like to show my clients before out shooting is you take your hand, especially for outdoors and it's very sunny. you take your hand and you just kind of move it along outside to see where the shadow's hitting. And if you're in a certain position and your hand is dark, then you know that you don't want to be shooting there. Like you don't want to be standing there with the shadows. So same thing for the house, right? Like just look at where the best lighting is. And like I said, I go back to aesthetics because that's really huge right now. I personally, my Instagram is kind of all over the place, but I love that look. I don't like one uniform look. That's me personally. So I like to mess around with the presets and the editing. But if you have one uniform look, then you'll start to get familiar with, okay, I'm gonna shoot around this time with this lighting because the editing will be easier because you'll get that one uniform look. But yes, and also going back on what Brandie said, create a mood board on Pinterest, on Instagram. Follow accounts that you admire. Do you like lots of colors? Do you like more of the whites? Do you like the darker stuff? Definitely do that because it's kind of like it kind of like motivates you like to get on it quicker because you're seeing all these beautiful images, right? And you're like, oh my God, I want to recreate that. So that's really good. And then as well, yes, I love to photograph. I love to have my clients bring whatever it is that they do. Whether if I'm photographing a photographer, obviously bring your camera, bring something that has meaning to you. So in the shoot, we can also get a lot of shots for your social media. And you could just use one shoot for like a month, 2 months, 3 months, because there's so many images, shots from that one shoot that you can use.
And the great point you made also is the way that you have your Instagram story set up. Like you may not have all uniform photos, but that just shows your, your diversity and your skill. But if someone does want to brand themselves, think about using your photos in the way that you set them up on your Instagram, the way people can scroll through. That's also should be part of your plan is how you want to establish yourself as a brand with images.
Totally. I have a questionnaire that I send to clients to kind of get a feel of the look that they're going for. So that I can navigate through that. So I could adjust whatever it is that I have to do on my end to give them more of that look when I deliver the photos.
And I have a question for Brandie. Do you think that the uniform look, so we're kind of in different times, or we've evolved our Instagram approach, if you will. We're getting more towards sharing more of our personal lives, our personal selves. And I see folks taking more risks with sharing more of themselves, and the pictures are diverse. So Rachel's a great example of a little bit of like family, a little bit of professional. Do you think that folks are moving more towards that? And how are clients reacting to that blending of professional and personal life?
Yeah, I think that's what it's going towards. I think I always tell clients, like, people do business with people. We don't do business with corporations, right? I want to know, like, and trust you as a person. And for me, I actually feel like the biggest doors that have opened for me have been because I took a risk to talk about something personal in my life, right? Whether it's like dealing with mental health struggles or difficult moments in my life. Like I had just shared about losing my business, right? So a post I had shared, I don't know, maybe sometime last year was I remember seeing like a bottle of Dawn soap, right? And at the time when I was going through everything, I lost everything. So I couldn't even afford like shampoo or bar soap. I would buy a thing of Dawn soap like at the 99-cent store, and that's what I used to like shower and get ready. And I remember sharing that story. It's something that I've already gone through, right? So it's not raw. I think that's the only like little caveat that I'll add is like you don't necessarily want to overshare or share something that you're still working through. Because then that's when it gets a little messy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's something you can talk about and not necessarily have a major emotional reaction, that's when you know you're kind of ready to be more open about it.
That's a really great tip, because if you're still uncomfortable, I mean, I guess there's that balance because it's always going to make us uncomfortable to put ourselves out there. But if we're, still having like strong feelings about it, then maybe it's not quite right the right time. But to that point of sharing so that we can learn from you, like and trust you is a really great point.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of leads to that other question around, when we're trying to tell our brand story, what are some techniques? And so we're talking with people in the event industry, so people that do services and some people that are behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So it's a blend. So we actually want to show the products themselves or the outcome along with a little bit of themselves. So as you're working with the client, maybe even just getting started, how do you help them to tell their brand story?
I actually have a formula and I can share it on the Facebook group afterwards, but I always do a hero's journey with every single client. Like I won't even start working with them until I know the answers to these questions. But it's pretty much like, how did you get started? What was the major turning point? Like the moment that you committed to, creating your business or starting. And then what challenges did you face? And then what is life like today? And if you look at if you study storytelling, like from Pixar, Disney, they all follow that same kind of format of telling a hero's journey. It's one of the oldest forms of telling a story. And I usually do with clients like an overarching one, right? A general one about your business. And then I do versions of that. So for example, with you, I can do an overarching one of how you started your business, but then I can do your hero's journey of like, as a woman of color that started her business, what challenges did you face, right? So that shares different aspects of who you are. And that is what allows people to like connect with you, where they might not connect with your passion for party planning, but they might connect with you as a woman of color, right? So it's sharing those different aspects of who you are while also storytelling.
I think that's really cool because that helps you to think about, and we keep talking about Instagram, but it's just because it's become a part of our life. And so as we come up with little parts of our life and things to share, you can look back at what you've created for your hero's journey and see how you can pull in different parts and share some of that throughout the process. How do you recommend kind of capturing sometimes the fault that we make is we only take the one picture at the end and it's like everything in one picture. But what I've seen from you is you're really able to capture like little details that tell the full story. And so I'm wondering if, for those of us that are on the party planning side, like how can we weave in moments to capture photos and frame those so that we can get some great photos that even if it's not the final photo.
Totally, like just to get the little in-between shots, right?
Yeah.
I feel like when I take family photos, I love to get the in-between.
Yeah.
If I do event photos, I love to get the in-between. I love to get the little details that maybe some of the people might not even think to get the cupcake as it is with the way the light's hitting it.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I always like to do a shot list so that I go over it and I know, okay, what am I going to get? I know what I'm going to get. I do like the main pictures, which is mainly like everything, are the big, like if it's being sponsored, obviously the sponsored shots, but really just we're in a digital age. Like just snap, like just snap the camera, like snap, your phone or your camera and just take photos. Also, something that's really has helped me a lot is adjusting not only what we're photographing, but adjusting ourselves and us circling around whatever it is that we're photographing to get different perspectives, different angles, different depth of field. And then always look at Pinterest. Every time I have a shoot that maybe I haven't done in a while, and I go on Pinterest and I'm like, okay, then I kind of need to refresh my mind a little bit. I go on past shoots, on their galleries, and I look a little bit. So I like getting the mix of it all. So I would just say, like I said, just shoot. Just shoot everything. the tables, look at little details, like what stands out to you. And if you're thinking of it, if it catches your eye, then snap it.
We have a question from chat from Selena, and this ties into what you're saying, just having a variety of pieces. So she says, I'm a florist and I struggle with creating a cohesive aesthetic because all my pieces are different colors. And so any tips on her on how she can take the variety of products that she have, but have a clean and cohesive look, maybe on her social media platforms? I think that's what you may be asking about, Selena.
Totally. Presets. You could purchase from several different photographers have them. You can find them on Etsy. And what they are, it's like on Instagram when you post a photo. And back in the day, we used to all use like the filters on Instagram.
Yeah.
So the presets are literally that. Like I said, different photographers make them. You purchase the one that obviously speaks to you. So are you more of the yellowish type of preset, golden hour look? Are you more of the cool blue tones? So every photo is not going to match the preset exactly how you want it. So in this particular question, I would say look for a preset that works for you. One, and then secondly, when you're photographing the camera, make sure the object, the flowers in this case, make sure that your settings are somewhat similar, so that when you apply that preset, you may only have to do minor tweaks. Most likely, you're going to have to do tweaks on everything that you apply the preset on, because it doesn't normally work like just a one click and it's done. Usually it doesn't. So you'll have to edit the lighting, but if you get the preset, you'll somehow have some type of cohesive look to your feed, to your Instagram, or whichever it is. That's present.
By the way, I'm still probably one of the users of the filters that are part of Instagram, so maybe I need to up my game a little.
Good.
One thing that comes up for us in particular is we get really, we're not as comfortable with sharing, more like other parts of our life. And it's mainly because Iris and I come from like a corporate environment. And so we have like this long-standing feeling of like what's perfect to put on there, or not necessarily even perfect, but sharing too much, or you're getting ready to share and then you just delete it because you're like, maybe that's just not what we should be posting right now. And so I think that we see that a lot with folks that are, just different generations, I would say. And as they're getting used to being more comfortable online, they're trying more, but there's still a hesitation to share. So do you have any tips on how to get people to be more comfortable with sharing online? And maybe it's part of like the brand story, but what do you say to folks that have a wonderful brand to share, but aren't really comfortable sharing online?
I would say definitely start with journaling and getting comfortable on your own with your story and with your struggles. If you're someone that is just very reserved in general, that's probably not going to be just in your business. That's probably true of you as a person also, right? So learning to get more in tune and comfortable with your own emotions and story. And then from there, I think just realizing like we're all human beings. And the reason why, to me, storytelling is so powerful is that I don't know one person that has never struggled with something, right? Whether it's starting a business or, with family or whatever it may be. And that's really what makes you relatable and makes people want to trust you. Because to me, when someone's like, oh no, like, my life and my Instagram and my business, everything's perfect. And I'm just like, mm-mm. It makes me not feel like I don't trust that person because I feel like there's something's up,
Right.
And like I mentioned earlier, there's definitely a balance between oversharing and like, being vulnerable. But I would say doing that and then finding people online that are already doing a great job at like telling their story online. So yeah, starting with that.
Mary asks, Any tips for fixing lighting or editing iPhone photos? What are the do's and don'ts, or just any tips in general?
Okay, for iPhone photos, I believe I don't even know what phone I have at this point, what iPhone I have. But when you take a photo, if you tap on where you want to focus on, usually like a little yellow box comes up and you could drag it up or down to adjust the lighting. Do that. Like that is
Let's see.
so helpful. And then also there are so many adjustment settings within the camera itself, and just mess with it. Like just test it out. See how the highlights look. See how the shadows look if you higher them or lower them. Exposure, contrast. You could do a lot with your iPhone, a ton. So what I would say, let's see. Oh, editing as well. I like to use Vosco, VSCO. That's an app that has a ton of filters. I love to play with filters, so that's a really good one. And also Adobe Photoshop. I know Adobe, if you already have the programs, you could download everything to your phone and you could fix an entire photo on your phone, which is pretty difficult because it's so small, but you can do that. So I would just say maybe just mess with your camera a little bit more. Like do some really close up product shots, just practicing with that, or practicing with your daughter. I know she has Cielo. Practicing with her, and then adjust that little lighting, and then just kind of get comfortable with it, and then play with the presets once you do that.
Presets.
Really, really good. We're gonna need a tutorial. Okay.
I told Rachel she needs to have like a little mini course, hands-on, right?
I cannot remember all this. So I'll put Rachel and Brandie's contact information in the chat so you guys can follow up with questions. So we have a question for Brandie. It says, do you have any pointers or tips on figuring out what one's niche is or what their brand is?
Yeah, this is something I struggled with for a long time because, as I shared earlier, there's so many businesses that kind of called to me, and I always heard the advice that I had to stick to one thing only, and that was it, right? And that was very conflicting for me. So what I realized is, if right now you had to do a presentation on one specific topic and that was it, and you had to talk about it for 45 minutes. That is really insightful because it already tells you okay, that's something you have a very big strength in. And then besides that, just, sit down and write your biography. And when you write down your biography, you'll notice certain themes and things that stick out in your life that you're like, I didn't realize, this has always been there. For me, I think my first business, I like to say, is selling Mexican candy and Pokemon out of my backpack, right? So business it's just always been a part of my life. So finding out in your own story, what has repeated over and over, keeps coming back into your life.
That's really, really, really good advice. Because I think, and then also there's these phases, I think there's a person you are before kids and a person you are. So
Yeah.
you have to do that a couple times in your life.
Yeah.
So another question before we close out. So right now we have a lot of people who want to hire a professional photographer or a social media strategist, such as the both of you. Can you give us just a couple of tips, each of you, on what people should do or should know before they pick up the phone or give you a call?
First, just look at different photographers, and I'm going back to this one thing because it's so important. But it's look for a photographer that's going to shoot the way that you like. Find one that really speaks to you. Composition, lighting, whatever one that you want your business, your brand to be like. Find a photographer for that, and also set a budget for yourself. See what you want to invest in, or how much you want to invest in for this exchange. And just Pinterest, just look and see what what photos that you want captured and which photographer that you think will help you achieve that.
I would say for social media, like management or branding, web design, anything having to do with your online presence. For starters, like dip your own toe in the water and figure out like, okay, it like if you manage your Instagram or your Facebook for your business, write down what parts of it you love and what parts of it you don't like, you know? If you are really excited about coming up with ideas for a photo shoot and taking the photos, but you really dislike responding to comments or scheduling posts, then you can figure out, okay, I can outsource this portion of it, right? And know that anytime you work with a social media like manager or anything like that, it's not 100% them. Like for me, I really like to, I think of it as collaborating with clients, right? And having them write some of the captions out, and then I can edit and we can work together to figure out what the right post is. So knowing that even if you do hire someone, you still have some part of like, you know, contributing to what's being put out, because you still want it to be in your voice, right? Like if you hire someone out and they just start writing the captions for you, you kind of lose that essence of who you are. Even just with language, right? And so you do want to be involved. And again, just figure out what your needs are and what things you struggle with, because you might not need a full-on social media manager. Maybe you just need to hire someone that's a virtual assistant that could do scheduling. So really figuring out, you know, what your needs are.
That's really helpful because we've struggled with that, like all elements of that. Like some days we absolutely love, you know, coming up with the content, and then some days we were challenged, and then, you know, then it's everything else. And so you're right, thinking about what are the things that kind of light us up and make us, you know, make it easy to do, and then think about what parts that we can potentially outsource. And
Yeah,
that's really good. We're talking with event pros and people in the events industry. What thoughts do you have or advice do you have for them right now? And I know it's a challenging time, and, you know, everyone has, you know, as much as we have, you know, time, we have other things that have come into play, you know, families and our own emotions and everything else. So, you know, it is a challenging time, but just your thoughts and maybe some, you know, advice that you would like to share with our audience here from your perspective on, you know, this time and maybe what you're doing or what you're trying to do during this time.
I'm gonna tie this back to what you went over earlier about getting, you know, your brand is what is your business, what you are offering, but it's also yourself. So I would say take the time to kind of put yourself out there a little bit on social media, get personal. I feel like that as a consumer, I would connect with that so much more. So maybe just take the time to do that a little bit more. Introduce yourself on Instagram, snap a selfie, post 10 facts about yourself, and really let your clientele like get to know you.
I would say, you know, everyone says always be closing, right? When it comes to sales, I think right now it's all about always be connecting. So really double down on your relationships that you have with people, and, you know, be really mindful of like, right now is not necessarily the time to go for the sale, right? Like there's some stuff that unfortunately we're going to have to kind of wait it out. So, not being scared and not feeling like a failure if you have to do something else during this time. I know here at my house, we're busy making masks and we've had over 500 orders so far. If you would have asked me 6 months ago if I would be making masks or like taking orders, there's no way, right? But I have to shift and find a way to make it work, especially for those of you that like have families and have little ones. You know, taking time to make sure that your needs are being met doesn't mean that you're failing at your business.
That's awesome. And congratulations on making that many masks. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
What
Can
a
I
way
ask?
to kind of pivot.
Yeah. Can I ask one more question though that I forgot, since you mentioned kind of right now, you said that you had some thoughts on leveraging TikTok during this time. So curious
Oh
what
my
your
God,
thoughts were.
you guys, if anybody is on an Instagram pod, get everybody in the pod to go over to TikTok. The reason is that we're in this like little golden bubble of TikTok where if you post something and people engage with it, you will get viewership, right? Whereas right now with Instagram, only like 10% of your followers actually see your posts unless they have notifications on. So if you get everybody that's on an Instagram pod to go over to a TikTok pod and you guys are engaging with each other, it will work and you will start seeing results. So take advantage before that, it's going to end up shifting, right, to exactly how Facebook and Instagram are.
Yeah.
But if you can take advantage of that, right now there's people that are getting brand deals, exposure. And the moment that everything opens up, the people that have been able to create a lot of visibility with TikTok are going to have opportunities that wouldn't have came to them otherwise.
Wow, good advice. Ladies, we could go on and on and on talking to you. So we might have to do a part 2. So definitely want to send a lot of love to everyone that joined us. We are in this together. We are sharing and caring with you at the same time. It's been very helpful for Patty and I as well.
We appreciate you, Rachel and Brandie, for taking the time to share your tips with us, and definitely feel free to reach out and dig a little bit deeper in that. Brandie, we'd love to share your Hero's Journey worksheet or the download that you shared. Mm-hmm. That would be amazing. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, ladies.
Take care.